Alrighty. Hello, everybody. I already see a bunch of comments in here speaking blasphemy of the red helmets with the white sweaters. I'm gonna have to tell y'all, I love the red helmet with the white sweater. I absolutely love it for a multitude of reasons. I'll get to that later. Good evening, everybody. We're in for another 10 o'clock game with the Canes, but the good news is I only think that there's 3 or 4 more starts that we're gonna have, or maybe it's 5 that are after 9 o'clock our time, Eastern time, that is, if that's where you're at. Um, One of the good friends of the channel who lives in Vegas, I just saw where he posted in the group chat that he's at the game, so I'm really glad he could make it there. So we'll get to some of the comments here. We'll talk about a little bit of stuff. We'll get to the game. Now, before we start talking about this game, I want to talk about the last one because I know I didn't do damage report. I didn't do a written one. I didn't do a video, any of that. I didn't make it through that game. I passed out in the first period because I was exhausted from the week that I had before that. I went back and watched it. And basically what it comes down to is not accounting for the whole altitude thing because it's not an excuse. It is a factor. When they traveled, not an excuse, but it is a factor. Colorado has 2 of the best players alive in Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar. And those 2 guys pulled the weight. They factored in on nearly 100% of their scoring. And Gostisbehere made a bad pass that Cale Makar scored that shorthanded goal with and turned everything around. That game is absolutely nothing to panic about. Carolina won 8 in a row. They were due to lose 1. And if they were going to lose to a team that had Cale Makar and Nathan MacKinnon, that's not that much of a surprise. That Colorado's record does not reflect how good of a team they actually are. And they've been absolutely mired with injuries. And don't even get me started on that lack of a goaltending interference call because it seems like they changed that definition by the hour. And depending on depending on who is actually challenging it, i.e., if Rod Brindamore does it, it's kind of like that fuck you, and they throw it out. But then I remember the last game I was at in Washington, there were 2 goaltender interference challenges that Washington won, and they definitely shouldn't have won the first one. So I don't know what the definition of it is. I really think that, honestly, I think they just sit up there and flip a coin and say, okay, that looks good. We'll do that. So we get to some of the comments here. Lackey, what's up, buddy? Thank you for the shout out earlier. Let's go Canes. Yes, absolutely. BTS, what's up, dude? Yellow. We're wearing white helmets. Hallelujah. No more candy canes until the next game. No, the candy canes was the old red sweater with just the 2 white stripes down at the bottom. I have one of those just for, collector purposes, but I fucking hated that sweater. And I didn't like the road one they had back then much better. Yeah, Lackey, I can't agree with you on that one, buddy. I love the red helmets with the white sweaters. I just think it sets it off. Yeah, I can't. I'm sorry, BTS. I can't get behind that. They don't deserve to be used much as it is. I don't know about that, man. I really, really like the red helmets with the white sweaters. I like them, but I like the combos we have. Yeah, me too. I'm glad they wear the red with the white and not with the black because I don't think it would look good with the black. That's just me. BTS says, I hate late games mostly because I like sleep. Yeah, me too. I'm going to be really dying at work tomorrow. Coconut Kyle, 5 goals. It was bad. Yes, it was. I would have BTS says I would have liked to see Freddie in that game, even though at this point I would like him in any game. Yeah, but Kochekov, like the one upside of this, Kochekov is getting his reps as a potential starter. So now we're seeing he's thrust into an involuntary situation where, hey, you have to be the number 1 for the foreseeable future. And you're getting an idea. You're getting a good sample size now. Are you that guy going forward? And he's looking more and more like he is. And I talked a little bit about this, and I made a short about it over on YouTube, where I'm like, Kochekov is starting to show a little bit more control in his game. He's still aggressive. He still comes out to challenge. He still uses the poke check pretty frequently, but he's not coming all the way out to the top of the circle to do stuff. He's letting the defense do their jobs of trying to get back and angle guys off, let the forwards back check. There is a multitude of different things that, he is doing significantly better now than he was the first few games of the season. So I'm a big believer in him. And it would be nice if he could turn into a starting goalie, because then all we have to do is worry about signing him to a contract extension, getting a serviceable backup. Spencer Martin, I don't think is that guy that you can have for a 100% of the time backup goalie. But, he's a third string guy. And that's another thing about the game with Colorado. we lost to their starting goalie, albeit he's not exactly one of the best ones in the league, and our third string goalie was out there, and we lost in a high-scoring game, which is about the only way that the Hurricanes can lose games in a lot of situations. So I personally would say flush that one. It wasn't that big of a deal. Kochekov is getting his reps in. That's what I'm happy about. Like he says, the Sharks game on March 20th is the final game. 10:30 is the final game this season. That's a 10 p.m. start with 7 more, including 8:30 starts. Yeah, see, I'm good with the 8 and 8:30 ones. I can do that. That's fine. Austin Holmes, what's up, buddy? I wonder which players Rod said are nicked up. I didn't get a chance to double check because of the thing I've been working on, and I still didn't finish it. But the good news is I can at least show you guys a decent preview. I can show you guys a decent preview of, like, what it's going to look like going forward, and it's also going to have some other stuff added into it as well. It's going to be a really good standardized pregame show that can still have nuance to it depending on who the opponent is. And this is also going to be the baseline of doing the playoff preview shows, which are going to be really, really good when that time comes around, if I'm able to do them. I don't know what my life circumstances are going to be then, because that's around the time we're moving to South Carolina, and depending on what I'm doing for work, I might not be able to do them. I might just make the slides and hand them off to AB and let him come on the channel and do them for me. Give him the notes and everything like that. He's a very knowledgeable guy himself, so he can do it, or Griff could do it for me maybe, or I'd just give them to them and they do them over on Caniac sessions if they want to, whatever. But those guys are pretty analytical as well. Coconut Kyle says red helmets make it easier to see the players. I'll get through the last of these comments and then I'll talk about that, because I've got some pretty elaborate thoughts on that in particular. BTS says, I agree with everything you said about Martin. Yeah, he's a third string goalie. He's good enough when you need him, but he's not someone that you want as a full-time backup, and you definitely don't want him to be a starter. Because we recalled Yost, and Rod said he's definitely coming in the lineup. So that did change. All right, because the last time I looked at the projected lineup, he said Yost might draw in. That's what I saw when I looked at the website just now to get the projected lineup for the lines. BTS says, I found 2 Cane's milk cups and drinking 2 glasses of milk tonight. That's cool. Brian Todd, what is Anderson out with? I believe they said lower body. If I remember correctly, it was lower body. That the last game he played when he was going back to the bench, he was getting looked at by not one of the equipment managers, but by the trainer. And it looked like he was just kind of doing something weird with like the back of his leg, the hamstring or something like that. It wasn't an equipment issue because Jorge Alves wasn't over there. Excuse me, George Alves. I still accidentally pronounce his name that way. George Alves wasn't the one over there messing with him. So I think that that's what's going on with that. All right, so the first thing I'm going to show off here. All right, there we go. All right, so here's the first slide of how I'm going to start formatting these shows. The post game is going to be a lot more simple. The post game is basically, here's my notes, here's who did what, here's the penalty summary, here's the scoring summary, and let's talk about it. Like I said, I will try to do at least a written Landfall hour tomorrow, but I highly, highly doubt I'm going live tonight. I will try, but I don't think it's happening. And if I do, I might just chug some caffeine, go to the gym at 4 in the morning when it opens, and then go to work. So first things first right here. All Canes, actually good to see you, because I want to give you a shout out real quick. I wonder what the Flyers do with Mitchkov. I wonder if we do what the Flyers do with Mitchkov and give Blake a game off. Remind me of that when I'm done with the slides. I actually have some thoughts on that that you might be interested to see. So now, the way that I'm formatting this right here, the reason that I'm doing like this, so there's going to be a lot more to these. I mean, a lot more. So what I do is I'm starting off here with the overall record, and then the relevant record is depending on if they're home or away. I put the home or away record out there to let you know how good any particular team or the team against the Hurricanes, whatever, is doing at home or away. And of course, I change that. If the Hurricanes are at home, then I put their home record up there, and then vice versa for the other team. Goal differential, pretty indicative how often a team scores and how often they win. 5-on-5 goal differential, 5-on-5. The majority of the game is played 5-on-5, so that's where most of the most important part of your goal differential is. Goals for per game and goals against per game, pretty self-explanatory. Power play, penalty kill, self-explanatory. Special teams, net positives. So basically what that is that's a 0 to 200 scale of adding the power play and the penalty kill. I look at special teams as one gigantic net positive. And then lastly, faceoffs, one of the most overvalued stats in hockey. Fight me. I believe it for a multitude of reasons. One day I'll make a video about that, probably in the offseason, because I have a lot of notes about that. So going into this right here, so overall records, the Carolina Hurricanes have played 13 games. They are 10-3-0. They just recently had their 8-game winning streak snapped primarily by Cale Makar and Nathan MacKinnon. Colorado earned that win. Aside from that bullshit goaltender interference call, Colorado fought to the end to get that win, and they took advantage of 8 minutes where the Hurricanes had a bunch of bad sequences, and they took over that game, and they held on. So Carolina, even though they played good for the majority of the game, you got to play for a full 60. They did not do it there. The Vegas Golden Knights are happy to be at home. They are 8-0-0 at home. They have not lost a game at home yet. They are 9-3-2 overall with 14 games played. That right there is already going to tell you this team is very confident at home. That's going to be a tough test for the Canes tonight. Goal differential. Hurricanes, 54 goals for, 34 against. They are plus 20 in goal differential. The Golden Knights, 61 for, 43 against, plus 18. 5-on-5 goal differential. The Hurricanes have 36 for, 22 against for a plus 14. Vegas, 43 for, 35 against for a plus 8. So that's the first thing that I'm going to get to here. 5-on-5, the Hurricanes can take advantage of this game real early. We'll get to that a little bit more in a little bit. Goals for per game, pretty close. Carolina 4.15 to Vegas having 4.36, so they have a little bit of an edge there. Goals against per game, Carolina holding steady at 2.62. I would like to see that be down to around 2.5 by the time the road trip is over. Goals against per game for Vegas is 3.07. Power play, Carolina 24.4%, needs to go up just a little bit. Vegas clicking pretty well right now, not as well as Colorado, but they're also getting, a lot more 5-on-5 scoring, and they have better goaltending at the moment. 32.4% for them. That penalty kill for the Canes is going to have to work really, really well tonight, especially if this turns into a special teams game. Penalty kill, Hurricanes have 84.3 to Vegas having a 76% penalty kill. Carolina's got a good advantage there. Special teams net overall, Carolina has 54.34% between their power play and their penalty kill, and Vegas has 108.4 for 54.2% for their special teams net positive. Faceoffs, Carolina finally getting close to getting back over 50%. They are at 49.9. They can easily be over 50 again after this game is over tonight. And then for Vegas, they have a 52.7% faceoff percentage. Now, projected lines here, not accounting for Yost potentially drawing into the lineup. This was the last thing that I saw. And the lines for Vegas are a little bit different or maybe a little bit different. This is the last tweet I saw regarding their lines, which was on 9 November. So looking at the Hurricanes lines, you're not seeing anything drastically different than what we've seen most of the season. Yeah, they did shake them up last game a little bit, but here we've got the standards: Svechnikov, Aho, Roslovic, Robinson, Kokoniemi, Natchez, Martinook, Stahl, Jarvis, Carrier, Drury, Blake. Defensive pairs are also the same with Slavin, Burns, Orlov, Chatfield, Gostisbehere, Walker, with Pyotr Kochekov in net. I'm going to reference something about that here in a moment regarding the goaltending. Okay, hold up. We have an update here. Thank you all, Canes. All right, noted. Yost is taking Jarvis's place in the lineup. So here's what's going to happen with that if the lines are not going to be changed. So Yost, he has a pretty simple job. He goes in there, he helps Martinook and Stahl forecheck, win matchups, eat possession, block shots, prevent transition, all that normal stuff that the Stahl line normally does. Tyson Yost just has to go out there and play a high-effort game, which he does, and he will fit in just fine with that line. Don't expect them to really do a whole lot of scoring tonight, but that's not their primary job. That's the one thing that really sucks when Jarvis is not on that line. It loses a lot of its scoring touch. However, Jarvis is a really, really, really good fit with those two because he adds that extra scoring element but brings all the physicality, all the high-effort game, the grinding and everything that you need on that line. Jarvis brings that, but he also has the skill to go along with it. Okay, Canes gave us another. Carrier is with Stahl and Yost is replacing Carrier on the fourth line. I'm good with that. That works. So long as you have Blake on that fourth line, it's always going to have scoring touch, and we've already seen that Martinook, Stahl, and Carrier worked out just fine. So that means the Stahl line is probably going to be getting a little bit more minutes than what they were before. The fourth line now will probably not get as many, and that's totally fine. Now, looking over at Vegas's side of the aisle, this is a pretty stacked team. Ivan Barbashev, Jack Eichel, Nicolas Waugh, former Hurricane Nicolas Waugh. That line is very fast, it's very skilled, and it's very heavy. That line is not slowed down by the size between those three guys. So that's the biggest one I think that you got to shut down tonight. Their second line is really good too. Howden, Tomas Hertl, Dorofeyev, I believe I'm pronouncing that right. I looked it up trying to make sure that I got it right. With the little bit that I've watched Vegas this year, really, really good second line. Pearson, Wild Bill Carlson, and Holtz for a third. Ronsenberg, Schwint, and Keegan Colasar round out the lineup for that. That top line, the top six in general, but that top line in particular is really, really good for this Vegas team. They're accounting for a lot of their goal. They hold a large percentage of their goals right now out of as far as their goal share goes. I didn't get the chance to put all that stuff in, but the cool thing is you'll get to see a preview of what it's going to look like here in the future. Now, the defense on this team is really, really good. I would wager to say it's close to being on par with Carolina. Noah Hannafin, Alex Pietrangelo. This is another one of those teams that is kind of like Carolina, likes to build a defense where you have one guy who's offensive, a puck mover, and another guy who's more of a safety valve that kind of lets them operate the way that they want to. In the case of the top pair, Hannafin is the guy that moves the puck. He's one of their power play quarterbacks. Austin, I'll get to that. Thank you. But yes, I will mention that because that's going to be detrimental to them tonight. So Alex Pietrangelo, he allows Noah Hannafin to be able to operate that like that, but still chips in some secondary scoring himself. He's very physical, very good two-way game, very good shutdown game. Braden McNabb and Shea Theodore. Shea Theodore just signed that big extension. He's a Brady Shea-esque type of player. Shea Theodore is. He's good at both ends of the ice, puts up plenty of points. Braden McNabb is more the safety valve for him. That pair is a little bit less balanced than the top pair. And then their third pair is pretty balanced between Hutton and Zach Whitecloud. Carolina has a little bit of edge in the defensive aspect of things, primarily because Carolina's third pair is a little bit better than their third pair, but this defense is nothing to sleep on, and they have Aiden Hill in net as well. So that is where the end of the inputs with this is. So I'm going to get to some of the comments, and then I'm going to go through here and start previewing what the show is going to look like in the future, because I got a decent amount of working on it, but I didn't get nearly all the stuff I wanted to get done with it. Not to mention that it'll be a little bit more graphically sound as I get through it. Austin Holmes says, hopefully Jarvy's issue isn't too serious. Wonder who will be on that power play unit without Jarvy. I wouldn't be surprised if they bump Blake up there maybe and give him a shot, because you're replacing a right-handed shot with another right-handed shot. That would be my guess, because Natchez is already on the top power play unit, and he's absolutely killing it. So if I had to guess, I would say that they're going to move Jackson Blake up. I think that would be a low-risk thing. And then as far as who they would put on the second unit, with the way he's been playing, you could probably put Eric Robinson there. Or if you don't move Blake up, you could probably put Roslovic on the first unit, because he's been playing really well and he's been scoring a lot. So you've got the two primary options you've got there is Jack Roslovic and Jackson Blake. I personally, it would be a toss-up for me. If you're going for experience, Roslovic. If you're going to see what somebody's totally capable of in a situation like that, who's shown that he's stepping up to be that type of player who is relied on in those big moments, Jackson Blake. But it could be either one of them. We'll see. Austin Holmes also says Mark Stone, key top six player for Vegas, is not playing for them. Yeah, and he's going to be available for their upcoming road trip, but he will not be available tonight. So the biggest thing they lose with Mark Stone is someone who wins faceoffs, someone who's an excellent shutdown guy, excellent penalty killer, but also has a really good two-way game of his own. Mark Stone is won Selkies for a reason, or had votes for them. I can't remember off the top of my head if he's won them or not. Please forgive me. But he's definitely, even though he's one of the slower guys in the league, he has a defensive stick that rivals Jordan Stahl. He's really, really good on the back check. He forechecks in a technical way as opposed to a speed way. He doesn't do it like Martinook does. But there is that to consider with him. Lackey says, looks like it's a shoulder problem again for Jarvis. That kind of worries me, considering it was a shoulder problem in the playoffs last year and the crazy kid played through it. All righty. Now, I know that none of this stuff is filled out here, but I just want to give you guys an idea of what the show is going to look like going forward. when I'm done having these set up, basically all I have to do is update the Carolina stats on one side and then add the other team's stats on the other. Eventually, there will be a head-to-head slide. And we will have all this info in here. And the reason that I have it set up like this is because shot attempts total, unblocked shot attempts, expected goals, scoring chances, high danger scoring chances. That's basically least quality chance or least quality possession metric to highest quality possession metric, highest quality chance measurement, team shot percentage, high danger shot percentage, and high danger goal percentage. So that way it basically goes from the quality of shooting the puck, the quality of the goal scoring opportunity, and the amount of scoring that you're getting out of it. That's what this is going to illustrate further in the future. And it does it where it's like you're using some of the advanced stats, but you're not like beating somebody over the head with it. And then you'll see multiple slides like this where I will break down each forward line for both teams, more so the team that the Hurricanes would be playing against as opposed to the Hurricanes themselves. I'll basically just, kind of gloss over like this line has improved from this, the previous game, to this in the next game. Yeah, you're right, Frank. We're screwed. And it's funny because my dog's name is Frank and he's laying back there and he just couldn't care less. I wish allergy season would be over. I feel bad for him and the little dog both. But yeah, essentially, this is what the forward line breakdown is going to be. The reason that I have it set up like this is so that way you can know how many games that line has played together, how much time on ice that they're averaging, or total minutes that they've had over the course of that, along with probably I'll throw an average in there, I think, as well. Shot attempts, unblocked shot attempts, XG, and goals. What's the ratio? Basically, from left to right is the stat. And then from top to bottom is the volume. And then the second column, the for and against, is the frequency. So basically, if we're looking at their Corsi, we're saying, okay, their Corsi percentage would be in the top column, for and against, how many shot attempts did they have while they were on the ice versus how many shot attempts against them, and how frequently did they have shot attempts against them, and how frequently did they take shot attempts in the for and against per 60 column. And it'll be the same thing for the defensive pairs. It's just I'm going to try and be able to fit the defensive pairs all on one page. I haven't figured out exactly how I'm going to do that yet. So, but yeah, there will be 4 or 5 slides of the forward lines breakdown. Now, the power play breakdown is actually something I'm planning on being a little bit more elaborate. So that's going to take some work, though, before I get it exactly where I want it to. And it'll be all 5 of the guys for both units on both teams. And I'm going to try to break down percentages of the power play units on both teams. And over time, I'll figure out exactly what stats that I want to add in there and everything like that so that I can really break down the power play. When you're talking about the penalty killing, it's like it's a one-of-one job. Get the puck, clear it, change your lines. It basically repeats itself, whereas a power play unit is charged with something that's a little bit more complex, if you ask me. So that's why I won't elaborate too much on what each penalty killer has to do. Penalty killing, especially when it comes to the Hurricanes, in my opinion, is more of a systematic thing. So it'll be more talking about this is what this power play unit needs to do to be able to score. This is what the other power play unit on the other team is capable of doing to score, and how the Hurricanes would prevent it. So that's why that breakdown is going to be like that. So the plan is it'll break down all 5 players on each power play unit for each team as soon as I get to where I know exactly how I want to present that data and then put it in there. All right, defensive pairs breakdown. I already said that'll be about the same thing. Goalie matchup, it'll be kind of the same thing with that as well. It'll be 2 tables comparing the 2 starting goalies. I'll have a little bit of advanced metrics in there for the goalies. I'm not very good when it comes to goalies. That's something I'm reading about a lot and learning about a lot, so that way I can try and deliver you guys an accurate product when it comes to the goalies and everything like that. On the radar, that's basically going to be like a power play, or excuse me, a players to watch type of segment. Now, the reason you see me doing like on the radar and all that type of stuff is I'm trying to keep everything in like a storm theme, henceforth, landfall hour, damage report, all that type of stuff. And eventually the background on these will be a little bit more elaborate. It's going to integrate my TW logo that my boy BG Edits made for me. I'm going to watermark that into it and make this look even better. But the on the radar segment is going to be like, hey, players to watch, or hey, the Hurricanes penalty kill is doing really good right now. It's went from 85% to 90% in the last 10 games, all that type of stuff that you see on typical pregame shows. Like if they were good, like if ESPN didn't suck and just sit there and have like Mark Messier, like talking about the Rangers, even though the Hurricanes and the Devils are playing. This is something geared more towards the team that we watch play every time that we watch the Hurricanes play. So it's like, that'll be what this segment is for, talking about stuff that's relevant to the team. It may talk about an opposing player a little bit that you may have to go out of your way to shut down and all that type of stuff. And winning elements, of course, is where I talk about what the Hurricane, this is where I summarize what the Hurricanes need to do to win a particular game individually. And that is the last of those. Now, even though I did not get everything put in that I wanted to put in, I'm going to try and do it for when they play Utah later this week. Here's what I can tell you. Looking at, actually, you know what? I can just bring back the top slide to talk about this. Okay, so biggest things here. One, Austin, you already mentioned it. Stay out of the box. Do not give a 32.4% power play too many chances tonight. Don't have to go to the, if you don't have to go to the well on the penalty kill a whole lot, the better. If you can limit that, Svetch, stop taking penalties, even though you've been a little bit better about it so far this year in comparison to the past. Something like that. Stay out of the box. Keep it a low-scoring game. So here in my notes, I've got the rest of the stuff in for winning elements. I think I've got it right here. Okay, so scoring forwards ability, I give a big advantage to Vegas on that. Overall depth, I'm going to give a slight advantage to Carolina. Coconut Kyle, don't make me laugh, bro. I'm trying to be a professional here. yeah, Frank, you're right. They fuck Svetch on everything. They really do. Goaltending, slight edge to Vegas for the moment, or excuse me, slight edge to Vegas for the moment. But very slight, though. I think Kochekov's going to have a big game tonight. Power play top unit, I'll give Vegas an advantage there. Overall power play depth, I'm going to give that advantage to Carolina. Penalty killing, advantage Carolina. Overall forward depth, I already said that one, advantage to Carolina. Defense, slight advantage to Carolina. Vegas's defense is really, really good. They're very evenly distributed throughout the lineup, but I think the overall depth chart there is going to be a little bit better. And that is about it for this one. But as far as everything else goes here, as the show becomes a little bit more elaborate and everything like that, I'm hoping to make it better over the course of time, but this is the framework for it that I've been trying to lay. It's just Google Slides has not fucking cooperated with me at all. But now that I've got all this stuff in there and everything like that, I can actually start like figuring out where I want to put everything. All right, let's get to some more of the comments here because the game is starting here shortly. Frank the Tank says, pretty damn good game in Colorado. Sucks we lost. Yeah, because when I went back and watched that, I was just kind of like, we got McKinnon and McCard. Like, that's all there is to it. And our third string goalie was in. And I remember saying something to somebody in one of the group chats. If that game took place at home, Carolina might have won just because they had last change. So, like, there's a distinct possibility there as well. Coconut Kyle says, rather see him get healthy now. No need for that this season in reference to Jarvis. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, let him take all the time he needs. We've got plenty of depth, and we've got all these young kids that can get called up. Like I was, when I was at work, I was watching the Wolves play on NHL Network. Justin Robitaille's a scrappy little fuck. I like him. I like him a lot. Like he plays way above his size. There's other guys who can get looks in the event of, Jarvis being out if you need to. You can put Nadeau up. You can pull up. You can call up Felix Unger-Sorum. You've got plenty of options there as far as guys you can get looks at while Jarvis gets healthy. That's no problem. But I understand why you bring a veteran in on the road tonight. That makes perfect sense. Frank the Tank, based on those metrics, we're going to look great when we lose. Yeah, no, I'll get all that stuff put in there. And when I get it to where I really want it to be, eventually I'm going to try to integrate like little bar graphs into it and everything. And, have the place of what they are in the NHL. I'm going to try and get somebody to write me some scripts to make that easier where I can just click one button, get it all in there, read over it, take some notes, do whatever I need to do, and then come do the show. Frank the Tank, that power play breakdown will be dope after, dude. That's a great idea. Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's why I was just kind of throwing that together. And eventually I was kind of like, you know what? I can make something pretty elaborate out of this where I can talk about like, okay, these five, because all I have to do is go on, like, know who the five guys are on each power play unit. And I just going to go on natural stat trick, use the line tool, input them all in, put the 5-on-4 filter on there, and then I can just put like how many goals they scored, what their high danger chance percentage is, what their Fenwick and their Corsi is. Like, not the percentages, because the percentages of it are obviously going to be higher. You're going to possess the puck more and shoot the puck more if you're on the power play. If you don't, you're doing something wrong, like something drastically wrong. But like, I would put in there, this is how many shot attempts they had, this is how many unblocked shot attempts they had, this is how many goals they're scoring, this is their shooting percentage on the power play, this is their expected goals percentage on the power, or expected goals on the power play, and how much they actually scored. Like, I have a really good plan for a pretty elaborate breakdown of that. Once I figure out exactly how I want to do it, then after that, copy paste, and it's all in there. Once I have all this stuff set up the way that I want to, it will take me 30 minutes to put a show together every night, because half of it's going to be just updating Carolina's numbers and then throwing the other team in there. And plus, all I have to do is like make a bunch of templates, and then I can just have one for each team, one for home, one for away. And then the last meetup, or I'm going to put another slide in there for the last time that we played that team, if that is relevant. And eventually I'll be able to present all that data in 35, 40 minutes or so, and spend the rest of the time doing interactions with you guys, which is what really makes the show fun for me. Coconut Kyle says, Utah fighting sister wives. I like that. That's funnier than hell. Frank the Tank, they fuck Svetch, though. They call him on everything. Yeah, they overdo it on calling him, because like there's times where I really, really, really feel like they're headhunting the shit out of him, and I don't know what the fuck he did, but I'm like, bro, whatever Svetch did, it cannot be that serious. Lackey says, hoping we don't have a 5v3 kill today. Been an absolute pain and basically automatic goal allowed. How many games in a row now has it been that we've had to kill a 5-on-3? Did that happen in the Colorado game? Yeah, it did, didn't it? Because the penalty was expiring and Natchez was on the way out of the box, and that's when they scored, what was it, their fourth goal the other night? Yeah, that's getting annoying. Against Philadelphia, you had to kill 5-on-3. Washington, 5-on-3. But yeah, no, that gets annoying. All Canes Network says, looks amazing. Thank you so much, and I'm hoping to make it look significantly better as things go on. BTS also says the new format looks good. Hope to see it grow. Thank you. Yes, I'm hoping that by the end of this season, it'll basically be I copy and paste shit and throw it in, and that is that. Lackey, thoughts on Natchez and Svetch 9 and 8 game point streaks on the line? If I had to guess, Natchez is going to keep his going tonight, and Svechnikov, this is why I want to have the on the radar segment when I, finally get this to where I want it to. Svechnikov, I think, Svetch might get his snap tonight. Natchez, I think he's going to keep it going, because right now Natchez is starting to show that type of player, that ceiling that we all knew that he had, but now he's able to integrate a responsible defensive game. And one of the other things I've noticed that he's doing that I'm really, really, really impressed with, when he was doing those entries before, when he would make those entries into the offensive zone, the defense would back off of him just enough, and he would cut drastically to the middle of the ice. He was making himself the back checkers had a target-rich environment on Martin Natchez. Now when he's entering the zone and he's cutting to the middle, he's not going directly to the middle. He's doing it at more of an angle, so that way he can cut back towards the boards and not give someone an easier time gapping up on him who's back checking. And the other cool thing about that is that creates more time and space for his line mates on entry as well. So Natchez is doing a really, really good job with that. I've been very impressed with how the little fundamentals of his game are clearly coming along. But like I said, integrating a solid defensive game with what he can do when he has possession of the puck, and the way that he's circling the wagons in the offensive zone and everything like that. And you can tell he's playing confident, because he's in situations before where he would have the puck and I would get really nervous that he was going to do something stupid, cough it up at the blue line. They were going to get a breakaway the other way and we were going to get scored on. He's being a lot more technical with his game, but he's also got his brain turned off, and he's letting his skill take over. And when he does make mistakes, he's doing really, really well with cleaning them up immediately after, or communicating with the players around him so that they know that they need to get on the back check, get on their horse, and break up a play, because they know that he's about to do something risky. But it seems like he's doing risky things at less vulnerable moments. So I'm really happy with how Natchez's game has progressed. All right, let's get through these comments here, and then it's going to be time. It's going to be time for the game here. Frank the Tank says, Red, LGC, let's go on. See, on the flip side, want to see Carrier piss somebody off tonight. Yeah, and people forget Carrier, like, he's a physical player. He'll probably fight. I don't remember if he ever has, but it wouldn't surprise me if he did. BTS says, are we getting Nick after KHL season is over? All the signs point to that, to Nikishin coming over at the end of his KHL season. Yes. And the only new news about that, Frank Zaravelli said something the Hurricanes might entice him with a bonus, which I'm totally fine with. Burn a year of his ELC, and it's a little bit less. You got to pay him later, because right now he's the only guy on the team that I think has the potential to make more money than Aho, except for maybe Natchez. Maybe Natchez. BTS says, I'm moving in a week, so if I miss a stream, my bad. Bro, it is absolutely no problem. I'm just happy you guys can be here when you can. Daraj Ozul, what's up, my bud? How you doing? This is a great framework and foundation, bud. Impressive work. I particularly like how you went the extra mile to name the categories with weather-related titles. Great stuff. Thank you so much. I'm going to try and make this a really, really special show and not overcomplicate it, but make it a little bit more in-depth than what we see from the, networks that actually cover hockey, because God knows ESPN does not give a fuck. Like, they really do not. They only got the rights to the NHL so that they turned it into controlled opposition, because then they didn't have to directly have their broadcasting of the NBA, the MLB, and the NFL competing with the NFL or competing on another network, particularly the NBA. And then they can just, put hockey on the back burner and leave it there and promote other things that they care about more. And I will never understand how the fuck Stephen A. Smith has a job, because that motherfucker is dumb. Like, he is legitimately stupid. Like, there is not a smart bone in his body. Coconut Kyle said yes. Frank the Tank too. I can't say that on here, bud. I can't say that on here. I'm sorry. BTS says, reputation shouldn't have anything to do with it. The NHL, if it's a penalty, it should be a penalty for everyone. Yeah, I wish it were that way, but, Tim Peel, for all of his faults, he said the quiet parts out loud before, or maybe it wasn't Tim Peel, but he said enough stupid shit in his life. But there's a lot of other officials that basically said they do have a list and that, certain players are on it, and that does not surprise me at all. All Kane says, I think we've had a 5-on-3 penalty kill every game since the Boston game. I think so too. I really do. Frank the Tags, Fetch gets 2 assists just because you said point streak snaps. Hey, if it works, I'll keep saying it. Frank the Tank, Nate's just always fast. Start at the beginning of the season, hope he can keep it consistent. Kokiniemi is similar. I think that both of them are going to be fine. Nate's just more so than Kokiniemi. If KK gets 50 points, he got what he needed as far as I was concerned. Natchez, Natchez is like, here's the curious thing that I have with Natchez. I was expecting a better season out of him, but like the pace he's on right now, it's like it would make him a top 10 player in the league. Is he going to maintain that? I don't think so. It's not realistic to expect it. And the other problem with it, if he does maintain that type of pace, let's say he does get 110 points, then we got a lot of cap space opening up at the end of the season, but it can dry up really quick, because now you're like, okay, we got a 100 plus point player. Now we got to pay him. He's going to make Aho money or probably more. You have Roslovic, who's an excellent fit. He's going to get a raise. I don't know how much right now, but if he sticks around, which it's starting to look like, I think that there's a great potential for that, then, that's more money that you got right there. Yeah, sure, Burns and Orlov are coming off the books and getting replaced with ELCs, but both of those guys, they're going to need contracts year after next. And then you got to start thinking about, wait, do we have to let somebody go? Eric Robinson, if he were to sign an extension right now, he's went from $950,000 to probably $2 million thereabouts. If he continues to produce and continues to play this well, you could probably bump him up to like 2.5-ish maybe. So there's something else they got to think about, and he's been an absolutely excellent fit. I was afraid that Robinson was going to be redundant, and he's not. He's a perfect fit. He does what needs to be done, but he does it without redundancy. Like, I'm really happy about that. Mike, you're not going to get me again, bud. You won't get me again. Good luck, though. Lackey says, saw on the Kane stats brand that the Canes have had 6-5 first and 5-on-3 kills this season, which leads the league. The kill on 5-on-3 is 2 out of 6. Obviously not good. But what are you going to do for a 2-man deficit? A 33% penalty kill, and it's all 5-on-3. Like, if you told me a 5-on-3 penalty, like if all your penalties are 5-on-3 and you have a 33%, success rate with that, that's actually not bad for 5-on-3s. Now, granted, we shouldn't be facing that many because I thought particularly the penalties Svechnikov got the other night, I thought that was bullshit. And then Stahl got the high sticking call after that and went to the box. Yeah, I didn't like either one of those. Or not either one of those, the first one. 3 or 4 fights in Vegas. Carrier. Okay, yeah, I figured he dropped the gloves before. I couldn't remember off the top of my head. All right, boys, I'm going to go get the game turned on. Thank you very much for joining me. I will work harder on getting the format done, and I will do my best to do damage report after this. Thank you, everybody for joining me. I appreciate it. Y'all take care. See you next time. Let's go, Canes. And stream. You ready to watch?